Dan, here we are in the man cave. Bit of a fun one. I'll try and keep it under 20 minutes. I don't know if that's going to work. I've done some serious videos this morning, so I'm allowed, Anna. Alright, my mate at work, hello mate from work, he sourced me the biggest Union Jack you ever did see. So, for this video, I am going to wrap myself in the British flag and we will carry on like Lawrence of Arabia. And I'm only joking. Yeah, thank you mate from work. I think military have fallen all over me. It is a more modern one. It does have like a modern materials to it, but stitched panel flag. I haven't got anywhere for it immediately because it is a bit big, but I will sort that out. Like Still Stan always says, just get stuff when you can get it, and this will find a home. I'm even thinking sort of, not that I do sell stuff, but not at like car boots. Clean that lens at military fairs. This would be ideal for doing something like a display across a big table. That's your man. So, mate at work, thanks very much. Ideal. Right, so a little fun bit of video today, and I've done some research after I've done my morning tasks. Saturday afternoons usually, but now 3 o'clock kick off. I'm a bit late. The only time I get to myself. My wife's coming home in about 2.5 hours, and we know what happens when she comes home. The fun's over. Like refreshment time. Right, so this is the film, The League of Gentlemen, not the BBC comedy of the late 90s, which wasn't my cup of tea, not the Sean Connery film, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, this one. Now I believe that is the DVD playing, but the sound's off, my head's in the way, I don't think I get done for copyright. Here's the box, the DVD box for it. I like the 1960s artwork, very 1960s that, and Jack Hawkins coming out of a manhole. That's in the very opening of the film. I'm presuming he's already scouting out what he's wanting to do, having a little look. I decided I've got quite an alright collection of DVDs, but I'm thinking, you know something, not so much like zombie apocalypse. I keep going about like the internet going down. Just the fact that sometimes you might have a film. I bought 3, as you saw in the video today. The one that got away, Dirty Dozen, and this. The one that got away has been on YouTube forever, if you want to watch it. But one day, I don't know. So there is a thing I only found out in the public domain, which means that I think it means that nobody has claimed the rights for it for so long. So it just becomes anyone can use it as a thing. It's in the public domain. Well, I don't think that film would be. But anyway, you know, you might come in here one day and think, I'm going to watch the one that got away, and then it's gone. It's got away. So I'm building up my DVD collection. So with these ones, I only watched that the other night. So it opens up. I'll have to put my reading glasses on because I've made notes, copious notes. It'd be boring this. So like I said, it's not the BBC comedy, and it isn't the later film. I've never seen the later film. So it starts off with, he gives out a book to each of these ex-military types, and the book is The Golden Fleece, written by a John Seaton. Now I don't think it is actually a real book, and it's a book about the perfect crime. In it, he sticks half a £5 note, which in 1960, when this film was filmed 1959, released 1960, a £5, there was nothing to be sniffed at. Inside was a note from the Cooperative Removals Company to attend a lunch. It would be your benefit, you know, sort of hinting that riches abound, sort of thing. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4. I went through it. I did write down in which order they were introduced, and I just stopped halfway through. Type of person I am. So anyway, these ex-military types turn up. A lot of the famous actors in their own right from the day. So Jack Hawkins is Colonel Hyde, who's made redundant by the army, and he's really pissed off about it. Sort of like late 50s, early 60s, the end of empire. Probably a lot of soldiers saw their careers going down the crap hole. He has no criminal record. These other people have all got either criminal records or a skeleton in the closet. So if you've already seen this film, turn off now. You're going to see this middle-aged git that I am mumbling on about it, but I felt like I'd want to do it. So they all turn up for lunch. Major Race being the last one to turn up, and he's rather one of those. I can't remember the name of the actor who plays him. He is Nigel Patrick, very one of those type actors, and he keeps calling everyone "hello, darling," which is relevant to later on. So as they go around the table, Colonel Hyde talks to them about what the possibilities might be. Did the book inspire you? But he also starts picking at the people for what their alleged crime is or was. But what I will do is start off with, before we go, I will say the person who he picks out and what they. So the first person he picks out is the actor Roger Livesey, who's Captain Mycroft. Now we're introduced to him. The police are after him for dealing porn, and he leaves his lodgings probably without paying. So when he goes around the table, Colonel Hyde, he says, you're being a swindler, peddling porn, while pretending to be a vicar, gross indecency in the botanical gardens. What was he doing? Fiddling with a palm tree. That was his alleged crime that he got booted out of the army for. Then he hits on number 2, Richard Attenborough, who's Lieutenant Lexi, and he currently is radio workshop, and he's fiddling the one-arm bandit gambler machines for a local villain, who is actually the actor Patrick Wymark, making a sort of cameo appearance. This is probably the worst crime of the lot, really. 1945, after the war had finished, he had given information to the Russians for money. So that's a pretty serious crime. I don't know whether he could still get shot for that in 1945. Number 3 is Brian Forbes. So he wrote the screenplay for this film. Brian Forbes, famous actor. He's married to Nanette Newman, who plays one of the other fellow's wives, an actress. He's Captain Porthill, and at the minute he's down on his luck like they all are, living with an older woman, like a toy boy, I suppose. Plays the piano in the club. His crime was shooting suspects in Cyprus, rebels, I believe. I didn't quite catch what they were, but Cypriot rebels. And then he goes around the table again, number 4, Nigel Patrick, Major Race. Now it opens up with him in his apartment, or well, I don't think it's his apartment, with his girlfriend. There's a casino wheel, beer everywhere, playing cards. Basically, he's bust. He's down on his luck, massive debts, living in the YMCA. And his crime was, at the end of the war, a black market ring in Hamburg, and he resigned his commission to save the regiment's name. Still, he got done for that. I got stopped writing down who was next. So let's have a look. We will go with Terence Alexander. He is Major Rupert Smith. And at the minute, his wife's an actress, younger than him. She talks down to him, he resents this. At one point he says, I had a rather good war, don't you know? Something along those lines. His crime is he had bad debts in the mess. So maybe he wasn't so good with money, and his wife bought him out of the army. Is that as bad as selling state secrets to the Russians? No, it isn't at all, but there you go. Then we've got Norman Bird, actor, who plays Captain Weaver. And he is like a watch repairer living with his old relatives. Relate to that. And he's obviously just sick as a pig. And the mother, or his wife, I think it's his wife or his mother in this segment, is the mother of On the Buses, the Doris Hurd, I think it is. So his crime was gross negligence. 4 bomb disposal soldiers were killed whilst he was drunk as a skunk. So there you go. And the last fella, I think I've done them all, is, where are we? Oh, Kieran Moore, that's the actor. He's Captain Stevens. It opens up with him. He's gym owner or gym runner. He's being blackmailed over his sexuality, because obviously this guy's gay. Homosexuality wasn't legalised till the late 60s, 67, I think, 65, something, 60 something after this film. So he's being blackmailed off by this fella, and you sort of see, you get the tension, you get the impression he still finds it difficult. Obviously he would, because that's, he can't help it. The way he's interacting with his gym fellows, and it says his crime. See, this is one of the things in the film I find a bit lumpy, if that makes sense. He's introduced as ex-Black Shirt, one of Mosley's boys, so a fascist in the 1930s, who saw the light at the last minute. World War II comes along, joins the army, gets a commission, but he just saw it. Jack Hawkins or Colonel Hyde hints at him a scandal in the Sunday papers, and he says something like, "We're always trying to catch the odd men out." So that, that. How I mean it's lumpy. Well, okay, this guy's obviously gay when it was illegal, so that's his crime. I got kicked out of the army. Okay, that was what it was in those days. But I mean, when you think about one bloke's shot a load of rebels to us, but they were people fighting for the country. The other fella sold state secrets to the Russians. I mean, they're all crimes in relatively, and I mean the old vicar type padre just selling dirty magazines. So they aren't all equal in their level of crime, if you like. It makes sense. Nigel Green, Colour Sergeant Bourne, because you're real lad. He has a big part in it, kissing a woman in a lorry. Oliver Reed has a part in it, which we'll get to in a minute. There is there are references to sort of changing times, 1960. Obviously, there are references to get obviously with this Captain Stevens being gay. There are other. I'll get to that. So Major Race follows Colonel Hyde home, and he said, "I knew it would be you," and he lets him in. He says, "Right, you may as well stay because this is going to be our base." Colonel Hyde, ramshackle old home, great big place, and Major Race keeps calling him old darling, and he says, "Please stop calling me old darling. Call me Hyde or Colonel." And he says, "Sorry, old darling, you pick up the oddest habits at the YMCA." So anyway, they meet at an old theatre, and they've all agreed to turn up again. He gives them some more money. Before that, Oliver Reed bursts in with another guy, and he's only a bit part, but he plays a really over-the-top camp actor, dancer. Like, where you're supposed to be in here. We were supposed to be booking in this room, and on the IMDb website database, it does say that it's considered a homophobic portrayal of people at the time. They're clumsy, that's what it is. But changing times, you see. You look at these films where they put warnings in front of some films, don't they? Attitudes of the time. I don't think that's necessary. I think if you can watch a film and realise it was made in a time before, it's not too many years away from when I was born. Less than 10 years. But I can picture the world as it was a little bit. 1970s, some areas haven't changed. Attitudes probably not. Everyone used to smoke. The world has changed, and that's just the way things are. So, but it is a clumsy line that probably didn't need to be. Maybe it was just someone trying to get Oliver Reed into a film, and he decided to camp it up so everyone noticed him. And on the other side of that, because of Captain Stevens' alleged whatever he'd done, it's not quite said, but David Attenborough, Lieutenant Lex, has to share a room with him. He says, "I'll be sleeping with the lights on," so it is in there, that sort of thing. So they all go back to. He tells them the plan in the theatre, and they're all for it. And they go back to his rambling home, his mansion. It's not a mansion; it's a big old Victorian house. And he tells them all the Queen's regulations apply, and so they all have to do like peeling spuds, looking after the kitchen. People who've been in the army will know that we all have to do a job. Now, what happens next in the film is that it's more of a just. I'm telling you what the film is. 14 minutes already. They want to steal some guns from the army. Now, part of this is a bit of a. I don't know whether it's just to get to lengthen the film out, or whether it was in the book, or maybe just revenge by Colonel Hyde on the British Army, because he says the type of guns we need for this job are not available over the counter. Well, that's not true, because really, if you think about it, one of the guards is armed, or two of the guards are armed. The police are not armed, still not armed in this country as a matter of course. Now, none of the bank staff are going to attack you, so why do you need submachine guns? A couple of shotguns would have been ample. You're not going to get into a gun battle. So that's just, but it makes for a good story. So Hyde, Porthill, Mycroft and Race, they go as officers to a British Army base. It's all explained in the film. You'll see the plan. Mycroft impersonating a senior officer to inspect the camp, to draw attention away from the fact that two of the people of the gang are going to burgle the armoury. Lieutenant Lexi and Stevens, they pretend to be GPO people to come to check the wires. They've cut the wires on the telephone so nobody else can ring in the base. So these people at the base just believe that this is an inspection off the cuff. Whilst Smith and Weaver, they break in the back door. The GPO men, inverted commas, make sure the coast is clear. And I mean, the thing is with the armoury, I read this off the Internet Movie Database. You know, they wouldn't store the guns with the magazines in, and the armoury would be guarded at all times, etc., etc. But I mean, it's a film, isn't it? So this gets a chance for some of like the classical sort of British plain army types to get a foothold in. Norman Rossington, you'll know his face, square-jawed guy. He plays the cook, Scouse cook. David Lodge, another well-known beefy sort of RSM type, and there's a good line in it where they go through into the enlisted men's sort of mess, and there'd been a complaint about the food. That was the excuse they had for visiting, and they say, "Is the food all right?" They say to one soldier, and he goes, "Oh, if we get plenty of it. It's been messed about a bit." "What do you mean?" "Well, it's been messed about a bit. Last Sunday we had a fair old go of the roast, but it'd been messed about a bit, you know." And it was quite an interesting thing for me that I think anyone who's been part of a team or been in the armed forces or part of a unit where all the people you're with, whether it's a rugby team or whatever, are together, and the bad guy is the bloke in charge of you, if you like, the one who's making you do so many press-ups, in this case the RSM, when they walk past, David Lodge looks at him like, I'll get you later on. And all his mates go, well done, Sponge or whatever his name was, and pat him on the back. And he goes, well, it's been messed about a bit, hasn't it? It's quite a good bit of British comedy. I like these old films, I do. So where are we now? So there's also there's an AA man, for those who don't reside in England. That's not Alcoholics Anonymous, he says, with the light refreshment. Keep watching it. Where are we now in the film, actually? Oh, they're still having dinner. It's nowhere near anywhere. The AA man, it's a roadside assistance. Nowadays, you have to be a member, but I think years ago they would pull over, like a patrol motorbike, they would pull over and help someone probably who wasn't a member to try and get them to be a member. I think that's how it worked years ago. They'd been told to use Irish accents, pretend to be IRA in case anyone cottoned onto them, which the paper blames the IRA. It is apparently based on a real life raid on an army barracks where the IRA did steal some weaponry. So yeah, and I said Nigel, they go and steal a truck. There's Nigel Green kissing a woman in the cab. There's a brush with the police. That's when the police used to walk the streets on a night. A sergeant and a constable. They get off with that. There's a description of the armoured van and the guards that he's telling them in the cellar. There's a picture of like, this is what we're going to do. It's going to be £1 million. The total net profit of the total amount of the robbery, which apparently would be £2.5 million per man. Now that's worth doing, I suppose, if you're into armed robbery, which I'm not, of course. Just into drinking light refreshments in the man cave on a Saturday afternoon with my time is it now? Oh, God, less than 2 hours before she comes home. Anyway, where are we again? Right, so there's various ways that they're going to isolate this bank. Explosions in the sewers. They say he's coming out the sewers at the beginning. The control, like trunking in the pavement, blow out the electronics, blow off the alarm. Smoke bombs are going to billow out into the street. They're going to drop them in like special containers they made. So the whole street's full of confusion. There's no electricity, no phone lines, and it's mass swirling bank of fog for a bit of respect. They use gas masks, World War II ones like that one up there. If you can you see it in the corner? Box respirator. And when he tries it out, Lieutenant Lexi's made they were used by, the GPO or maybe the police. There's a little socket to plug something in. They make it out as some sort of speaker. I don't know how well that would have worked or whether it's quite true or not. But they've got gas masks on anyway. So there was an incident with a young copper turning up at the yard, and they'd already stolen the car. It was before the raid started, and one of the major raids got in trouble for that. There was a young kid outside the bank taking number plates. That's relevant later on. On the way to the raid, there's some nice shots of pre-60s Britain, I suppose. Like I said, that I was brought up in the 70s, and a lot of these big Victorian towns around here were past the best. The railway stations would drop into bits, the glass canopies were falling out. All the big buildings, especially around here, were industrially soot-stained black. But even in city centres where they didn't have industrial pollution like they had around here, the areas was a car exhaust. So they're going about the environment nowadays. You should have seen then green mould, sandstone buildings. I think in the late 60s, early 90s, they really started cleaning them up. So if I see an old bit of footage with dark stained sandstone buildings, that just reminds me of being a kid. So you see all that, but you also see some chrome and glass buildings along, I don't know if it's Fleet Street, Daily Express, a couple of other papers, modern buildings. And obviously the 60s was a time of big change in Britain, which is probably reflected a little bit in this film. If I'm going to look at it sort of in that way, these middle-aged fellas served their country in the war. Now they're surplus to requirements, even though they've committed crimes. Certainly Colonel Hyde, we don't need you anymore now. So yeah, you sort of get the metaphor. That makes sense. Metaphor, see. Yeah. Anyway, carry on, Stan. So yeah, they've seen the kid with the taking the numbers down. So this is the thing where he says the guns we need, we can't get over the counter, we need something heavier, and the only time they use the guns is when they leave. They say, Colonel Hyde says, don't anyone move, and they fire a submachine gun clip into the roof. That could have been done with a shotgun. I think Colonel Hyde has some sort of pistol. I'm not sure what it is. I did look up on there's a movies guns database. This film isn't it? The Extraordinary Gentleman one is, but this isn't. So I don't know what. It looked like Sterlings and Stens they were using. I don't know what the pistol was. So it's a very atmospheric film, especially when they're in the bank and they're stood there in the camel air coats and nobody move, and they got your gas masks on. It sticks in my mind. There's no swearing as such, no violence, no sex, but still it's a nice film, probably for a nostalgia point of view from me. They load up the money in like a van or a shooting brake, and then a little estate car, shooting brake, and then they move it into a van, a bit like the Italian Job. It's outside they get away and end up having drinks at Colonel Hyde's house, and they're all getting ready to bagger off with their money, suitcases full of money, and then there's knock on the door. Who is it? You open the door. Hello there, old fruit. And it's Bunny Warren. Now he's a friend of Colonel Hyde's from the old regiment days, and he just moved in around the corner. Found out he's living there. He's come round. He's a regimental bore, and he's drunk anyway, and he just annoys them and pests them. They try to drift off and dribs and drabs and ones and twos. And it gets down to the last two, Colonel Hyde and Major Race, and the phone goes, and Bunny Warren picks up the police. So we're outside, we've got you surrounded. You give up. Anyway, he ignores the phone call. Eventually, Colonel Hyde speaks to him and says, who spragged on us? And he said, it was little Billy Johnson who got your license plate number, but the police wouldn't have done that anyway. So but that's how the story went. And he told Major Race to make the best of it and get out if he could. In the end, Colonel Hyde and Bunny walk out together. He's holding Bunny up. Bunny's got nothing to do with the thing, and there's all soldiers outside with Lee Enfield rifles, number 4. Wouldn't they have FNFALs at this time, 1959, 1960? Goes to the police van, and they're all in there. Present and correct, sir. All handcuffed together. And apparently, the original script in the book that was written about it, they got away with it, but it wasn't allowed to be done, portrayed on film, that they did. The Great Train Robbery was only 3-4 years later, 1963. 1963. So they weren't allowed to portray that on film and probably glamorising armed robbery. Me personally, I think, what's my summary of it? I think it's a very interesting film for me because apart from Roger Livesey, and I think that's about it. He worked in a armaments factory in the Second World War because he was too old to serve in the RAF or something. And I think the rest of them either all served in World War Two, or even if it was in ENSA, the entertainment section of the army, or they served after the war. And people often get excited nowadays politically. 25 minutes, me talking, it's going to be half an hour with me, still upset. Oh, bring back national service. I don't know about that. But what these fellas did have was a camaraderie and a shared experience of being in the Second World War, and also the actors as well. They must have found it very easy to. They could probably sit around in the break and talk about their time when they were doing whatever they did in the war. Long gone is that generation. I personally would have liked to have seen them get away with it. I think an ideal end would have been footsteps of someone you think it's the bank robber, it's Bunny Warren. The police put their hands on his and turn him round. You're coming with us, and the rest of them get away with it, but they don't. So I'm sorry to have bored you crapless, but I just wanted to do after doing two serious videos in one day. I just wanted to come in here and talk absolute rubbish, which is my forte, about this excellent film. What's happening now? Oh, this is Major Race has just turned up at the. That's not a very good copy, that actually. It's quite a good TV that it picks up on all the faults and what have you. Present of my mother-in-law. So yeah, he's in there now. That's The League of Gentlemen. If you've never seen it before, it is on YouTube. If you want to watch it now, catch it before someone takes it down unless it's in the public domain. And that's me. 27 minutes of talking. I do apologise for taking up your time, but you never know. Sit back, have a light refreshment, and oh no, I should have said at the beginning, shouldn't I? Anyway. People watch things for longer than half an hour. They're less interesting than I am, I think. So this is Stan, and I will see ya.